Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we're kind of doing a special battle report. We're calling it our VTC celebration. So obviously due to pandemic stuff, the WTC is off. So a replacement was organized for the virtual team championship, which runs the same way with 5-man teams or 5-person teams. And then they all do this through Wartable. So we decided to take 2 lists that we really thought were fun and pit them against each other so we could kind of like, at least throw something down with this VTC in the RTC reality team championship.
Yeah.
So I looked over all the lists for the VTC, and there were definitely a bunch that like struck me as fun ones. There were a couple Swedish lists that I really liked, but the one I ended up landing on was from the Belgium team, Lich Please, and I picked up Wout Marschalek. He's pronounced it for me, and I won't be able to say it. So that's. I'm sure I could get it closer, but that's where I'm gonna leave it. They are a team, I believe, of all mercenary players. So I picked up the list for him that is Gorten Grundback in Irregulars. And the battle group is pretty straightforward with him. We've got a Basher Driller and 2 Blasters. But then this is where the irregular part of Irregulars comes into play. We've got Nemo 4 with a Toro. We've Boomhowlers in here. The Hermit and Scythe are also here. And with Irregulars, it's almost like you have to take Anastasia di Bray anyways because you get a likely chance to go first. Then we've got Harlowe along with Orin Midwinter for some protection, unit of Kayazy Eliminators, and then we've also got Gaspy 4 or Asphyxious the Sanctified with a Conservator. So the list is... It can pump damage pretty hard between Strength of Granite with the battle group, Lightning Shroud on the Lightning Tendrils on the Toro, and then Gaspy's Conservator can get up pretty high between Dark Shroud and his it's that Hand of Vengeance ability that he's got. The list is really, really techy, but super fun to play. It's all about trying to leverage Gorton's feat to just really kind of cripple your opponent in the way you need to. So I thought this was really fun, and Wout, I'm sorry for butchering your name.
So for this week, I looked through a bunch of the lists, and I ended up settling on Spencer Gee's Minions list on the Canadian team of Canada Beaver. I liked his Lord Azello list, and thank you. In the last video, somebody went through in the comments and told me how to actually pronounce his name after we butchered it like 10 times. So
we just don't say names in Wisconsin. We're just like, hey, what's up? You, hey.
Basically. So I liked the Lord Azello list. The Rask list was interesting to me. I really wanted to play the Lord Azello list, but then like we showed up with the pairing, I was like, I got to play it safe with Rask.
Yeah, Vout's other list was Ashlyn 1 in Flames, so it was rough.
So I ended up playing Rask, and he's got a double Swamp Horror in his battle group, a Soul Slave, Boomy 2, Dahlia and Skarath, double Feralgeist, Gatorman Witch Doctor, Orin, Mire with a Wrastler, Void Archon, and then Malvin and Mayhem with a Swamp Gobber's Bellow crew. This is kind of similar to Rask lists I've run in the past. It's light on the battle group for Rask. Usually I like to have at least 3 heavies in this battle group, but I like the efficiency of everything does work. There's a few support solos mixed in that you paid for, but Rask just cranks damage, and he's got a lot of utility and a lot of infantry killing with Dahlia and Skarath, with Malvin and Mayhem, and then he's got armor cracking with Rage and Fury and Dark Shroud. It's just a versatile list, and I really liked it.
So unsurprisingly, I won the role to go first.
Turns out an 83% chance to win the roll to go first with +1 and a reroll is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good way to lock this up. And Gorton loves going first with all these crazy weird things that he can bring with him. So the table side that I got stuck with has some rough terrain on the outside, that corrosion pool on the top side. So I'm kind of funneled into the middle, and I'm not too worried about this so much because my goal here is just really to get Gorton up as far as I can. So you see me kind of bumbling all this other stuff around here. I've got Nemo going next and getting locomotion out, and then he's placed himself and run, and then
He walked and then repoed.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks to
sorry.
Boomy.
Yeah, placed, walked, repoed, because Boomhowler gave him reposition. So now we opened the gates for the Ironhead, which I couldn't find an Ironhead locally at all, so I had to have Boss McHorn come in and take the role for this one. She ends up coming down and lifting Gorton into place, which is kind of just the gist. It's almost like formulaic for turn 1 for this one. So really, I just want to prepare myself for getting the solos where I need to take pieces off the table that come into me, and getting my heavies up the board. The nice thing about playing against Rask with this list is all my heavies can't be pushed or pulled by those swamp horrors, so I can kind of make things a little safe for him. It just makes it so that Gorton can be as aggressive as he wants to be and not worry about too much. I decided to run my Kayazy Eliminators off camera here just to kind of do some late game contesting.
So losing the role to go first is unfortunate against Gorton, but it's not unexpected. Like, I've played the irregulars with Anastasia before on the channel, and it's just so, like, it doesn't guarantee the going first, but man, does it make it super likely. And there I'm just measuring out the casual Toro threat of 15, which is actually 17 because he's speed 5,
Yep.
locomotion for 3. You can crane him 10, and then he charges 13 and 15. Okay, so I was factoring in crane with the 15. So he threatens 15 just trivially, so a lot of his stuff threatens pretty far. Like, I have to respect Gorton's feet. I have to respect that Toro, and I have to respect, like, the Conservator, Gaspy coming in. Like, oh, it's 17 with Bloodthirst.
With Bloodthirst, yeah,
So,
that's
like,
what it was.
I feel like I have to feat, because Admo doesn't stop or doesn't work against the Toro, because if you Admo away, he just countercharges you and gets 2 free charges.
Yeah.
So Rask goes up in feats, and I also need to feat to get like a couple solos up the board, because Scythe and Harlowe are really, really good at clearing stuff because they're just really, really efficient. Like, Harlowe is just like, every Merc list I build, he's the first thing I add in. If I can take him, he's just so
He's a
good.
Strong piece. Like 5 points that kills as much as he does is just like perfect.
I mean, he's usually free too, so it's like, because I didn't want to send up the Archon too far, because if he aims, he's Rat 7, aims the 9s, he just needs 5s to hit my Archon, and then he's dice -5 with fire shots, he could kill me. So I did put the Void Archon up in Gorton's 16-inch feet threat, because that's just the thing with the crane. I run up the Swamp Horror, he is just out, but I do run up Malvin and Mayhem with the +2 armor ability this turn, just to try and see if he wants to feat. And like, I'm trying to bait out the feat, but I don't think he's going to take it. So like, I'm happy either way, because if I keep every single thing outside 16 of Gorton, like, you can see how far the Wrastler's moving up. He basically walked almost. Like, that's how far he got to go up, and that's not a good thing. Like, I don't mind feeding defensively with Rask if I can claim board space, but Gorton's feet can just really neuter my feet, because if I'm up too far, he feats, he pulls all my stuff out of my feet and then kills it, or he pushes it 8 inches back, and then all of a sudden I just lose on scenario. So I'm just trying to move up, and this turn's taking me a little bit because I'm just trying to respect his feet.
There's a lot of threat ranges to consider here. Like, your list and my list are very similar in that we just bring a lot of good stuff that does a lot of crazy things. So it's understandable that you're taking this much time to kind of figure out or try and negotiate a route to safety.
Yeah. Dahlia did put up Haunting Melody. It doesn't really matter up on the top side. I think it's more cute. It makes sure that Anastasia can't ambush kill her. The Ghostly bot did give Skarath Ghostly, so that way she could charge through there. I put up a Feralgeist, that way it would stop the charge because she couldn't move through it, so that way I'm fully in the rubble. Outside threat of the Toro, and then just moving up Boomhowler.
Going into turn 2, I have some interesting choices to make. Ethan's given, like, the way that everything's kind of positioned here, I've got the ability to pull in the Void Archon and Malvin and Mayhem, and those are 2 really big pieces, but that just means that Ethan's still got 4 heavies hanging around that I have to deal with. So it would be that Gorten would have to come up, unpack the rest of his battle group in a way that makes it so so that I can still keep him protected because I'm still under threat from all these heavies. So it's really rough. I'm trying to plot out here's where Gorten could end up and where he could where he could get in to pull things. I think when we were like measuring things out, we thought the swamp horror on the top side of that zone was in feet, but then after putting down a bunch of sticks and figuring it out, like whichever, like if Gorten curves too far, he either gets the swamp horror or gets the void archon. He can't get them both. So that's a weird one for me. I wouldn't mind pulling 2 heavies off, but then we're still kind of in this zone where Gorton's just going to be able to get trampled onto by a swamp horror or a gator or something. And I don't know if I'm really super keen on that, considering that what I have done in the past, which was like one game, it is just kind of castle up with Gorten, where you put all of his non-pull heavies in front of him, or non-pull jacks, the gun bunnies and the basher and everything, and then put a rock wall in front of those so that they're really safe. But with me having to thinking about unpacking feet to get these heavies, I don't think that's something I could do efficiently or maybe do right. So my inexperience with the list is definitely going to show through as I kind of trundle through this turn a little bit. A lot of these pieces are ones that are very new to me, like I've never played with gas before, and Gorten I've played so infrequently, but I know that he's a pretty strong caster otherwise. So one of the nice things about the way this table is set up right now is that there's a cloud wall that I can connect to the forest, and both Ethan and I have taken eyeless sight objectives, so he can at least get something through there. So I've got to pay attention to the threat ranges from Gaspy, and we're kind of just adjusting things in the back here because of the if the snake gets in on those servitors, then he can start kind of plowing through that with overtakes to get to Gaspy. And that's not a world I want to live in either. So we're just kind of adjusting all this stuff. But the Conservator hangs out and back. So I feel like the Conservator and Gaspy 4 are really safe. And now I'm figuring out what the Malvin and Mayhem and not Kraken, the Swamp Horror threat is looking like. And with one of them getting eyeless sight, no matter where the Toro goes, unless he backs off completely into the zone where he can't be touched, he's going to be in threat. So I decide to get a little risky with the Toro and put him in a place where he can come and grab them, and he'll have to use resources at least to take the Toro down. But I want to try and at least start this. I can't asymmetrically start the peace trade in my favor. I have to do it the other way around because Ethan's played really cagey with his feet. So Nemo makes sure to stay out of threat of Malvin and Mayhem because he's a really important piece to this list too, with all these push guns and the way that he influences so much. So my turn is not looking super aggressive. It's kind of like I'm only moving Gorten up a little bit because I think that trying to unpack aggressively is going to be rough for me. And there's also the chance, like I didn't do the measuring or anything for it, but even if Gorten comes up in feats, there's a good chance I might not be able to charge everything that I pull into my feet based on Rask's control area.
Yep, and the forest would slow me down, so like that's why I tried to position the stuff behind the woods. So like even that swamp on the top would clip the woods a little bit, and then maybe still stay in feet, but Rask like had to hide behind the objective. So,
yeah,
like it's weird.
You definitely planned for this feat really well. So I think my best bet is to just kind of hang back and try and lose as little as possible, and then kind of just start the game next turn, and maybe I can unpack my feet and do some good work there. So really, it's just a lot of stuff staying back and trying to be a little more cagey.
So going into my bottom of 2, all the flags are contested. I can get on a Toro, but like it's a 13-point Toro, whereas anything I could send on it is more expensive. Like even Dahlia and Skarath, like she can't get there because the cloud. But like if I send in the Swamp Horror, I'm losing 2 points. it's a 2-point net loss. I really don't want to trade Malvin and Mayhem just for a Toro. But down there, I was measuring some cute Chain Lightning threats, but he's sadly just outside 4 inches of each other. And I could... no, actually, I can't. I was thinking if I could Chain Lightning off my Feralgeist to get both of them, but since he's basing the flag, that one guy would conduct onto the flag, and then it would go nowhere. So I'm trying to figure out how I can clear the bottom flag, because I don't think I can clear the top, and I don't think I can clear the bottom until I start measuring out Melvin's threat. Because I'm like, he's got Fury. I'm like, I might as well just fire and forget him, and then try and keep my battle group safe. Because with only having 2 horrors in my battle group, if they go up and do work, I lose my transfer targets. And there we find out Malvin and Mayhem, if they hit the button, they go up to speed 7. I can boundless charge him, so he's 9. So he charges 12, and I can elasticity him for reach. So if I go max reach on that Toro, I'm within 3 inches of Gaspy. So I could actually killing spree and get to no camp Gaspy. I mean, Gaspy has some baller stats, but Malvin and Mayhem with Fury and Button are Mat 7 PS 23s. So there's a chance, and I feel like I have to take that chance. So once I realize that, like, I'm going to try and give up Malvin and Mayhem. There, the horror's trying to clear off a Kayazy that ran. Boost the Tentacle, misses. Boost the Tentacle, misses. Boost the Tentacle, misses. Because she needs 11s?
Yeah, 11, def 17 in combat.
Yeah, so that's rough. So now, like, I did give Eyeless Sight to Malvin and Mayhem once we pre-measured out the objective. Or not the objective, where his charge lane could be. So now I had hoped that Swamp Horror would hit 1 or 2 attacks, or hit one of the first 2. That way I wouldn't be so hot on Fury. So now, like, in my head, I can't send the Horror up to do anything, because I just can't risk the Fury. There, the Spell Slave goes up, Boundless charges Malvin and Mayhem, and now I'm just planning out Rask's activation, because originally I wanted the Swamp Horror to put Elasticity on him, but then I'm just going to be sitting on 5 Fury on the board, and I really don't want to risk running hot and then potentially losing my heavy if Gorton comes up and feats, because at this point I have to accept Gorton can feed on my army, and like that's just, if Gorton wants it, Gorton can get it. So that's the downside of feeding bottom of 1. So Rask goes, he puts Elasticity on the Swamp Horror, and now he's sitting on 3 because he upkept Fury for free thanks to Spell Slave, and they spent 1 for Admo on the Squid. Because I know the Squid won't do much into the Toro, but I figure that might keep it alive against Gaspy in the later turns, or if once it gets pulled in from feet. So Malvin and Mayhem go, they hit the button. I didn't move the focus yet, but the charge attack hits. I do choose to do the Warhead trigger because it's extra damage. Normally I never do it, so it's a POW 10, does nothing. The charge attack, I think that rolls.
I think the charge attack I hermited.
Yep, you did hermit it. So now the fist did decent damage. I'm buying an attack.
And that one hit because my movement was out.
Yep.
So you just got my movement and were able to get that attack in.
Yep, buying my 3rd attack. Kills it because Balance lets me charge for free. So I am 1 Fury left, or focus. I Killing Spree over. I take my Killing Spree attack. I'm debating boosting the hit because I need 7s. But I realize if I want a chance of killing Gaspy, I have to go for the unboosted 7, and I hit it. POW 23, dice plus 3. Or I do the Warhead trigger, and actually it does decent damage. Then I hit again, and I kill him.
Yep, so the Warhead is what ended up getting you on this one, I think. Or getting you there. No, never mind.
I bought
it was a ton of damage. So.
Yeah, because I was dice plus 6 with Fury and hitting the button.
Yep, and we took the servitors off, but now we're looking over and realize that the servitors do stay. It's just that they really don't do anything much after that. They're like POW 3.
They're murderous,
yeah,
anatomical precision bots, basically, against everything.
So they're just they're
they're not even Dark Shroud.
Yeah,
bots.
they only get Arc Shroud when they're in his command. So they come back in just as contesting pieces for me. I really didn't want to give up Gaspy here. Like that was just a real unfortunate thing to have happen. But I think we'll see if I can kind of bounce back from this. That was a real harsh pill to swallow.
Yeah, because like I think we both thought Gaspy was safe. Until I'm like, wait, Killing Spree, and I was like, there might be a way, and it was just in.
Mm-hmm.
So Feralgeist runs to the flag. Malvin and Mayhem could have maybe over killing spree forward and got reach attacks on these servitors, but we couldn't remember exactly where they were, so I was just going to be like, nope, I'm out of range, because we accidentally picked them up, and that's fine with me. Because I think only one of them was contesting, because I think you just had Gaspy in contest range, and you're like, well, he's not going to die.
I think Gaspy was the only one there, yep.
So Skarath walks up, toes the cloud, sprays the dude, one of the servitors, boosts the hit, hits luckily because I'm at 6, because I think I rolled 2-2-2. I put up counterblast. I decided to toe the cloud just in case Anastasia came that way. So with counterblast up, I could maybe kill her once she comes in the contest. Because the only thing left up there is 2 murder bots. And then I'm just kind of going through the bottom. I'm still trying to figure out how to unpack the bottom because I really want to score that flag, because he left it semi-unprotected because he wanted to keep Harlowe and Scythe safe. So I'm just trying to think, because the Void is mat 7, so he needs 10s to hit Kayazy, which is not what I want. But I'm trying to think. I don't want to take a free strike either, flying to the butt. But then I decide to walk over the Witch Doctor, give him Ghostly, and then he flies over into the rear arc, max 1 inch, and then I'm going to just try and hard roll the first 8. So I figured 2 chances at an 8 are pretty good. I hit. With Dark Shroud, it's pretty much an auto kill. I get a soul, and now I can teleport. I teleport to the other side of the other Kayazy, and now I'm on the flag. I'm debating boosting the hit, and I do end up boosting the hit with the soul, because I don't want to try and get lightning in a bottle and hit another unboosted 8. So now I get her soul, and now I'm going to try and spray Harlowe, because Harlowe scares me more than Scythe, because if Scythe misses once, then she's just over. But Harlowe gets 4 chances. So I boost the hit with the spray, and that's dice +1, and I kill. I get his soul, but now I'm sitting on the flag. It's not contested. My Feralgeist moves up. He opts to stay outside of 4 inches because I'm worried about his Orin coming up and chain lightning and bouncing off the flag onto my Feralgeist. So I'm just keeping him back there for next turn in case he needs to come up. My Orin's sitting back there in case Anastasia comes down there, because I really like chain lightning off of Feralgeist. I feel like it's super cute.
Yeah, it's a nice little spark node.
The Wrastler just moves up, riles for 2 Fury. I'm trying to stay like back far enough where if he wants to feed on me, he has to come up, and then the woods are going to slow me down. Mire puts up Cloud, is tucked behind the objective with Rask, so they can't be pushed forward. Dahlia, she just runs, so even without Pathfinder, she's fine. So she ditched 2, ran, and then, or no, she did put up the Pathfinder spell on herself, walked, and then Boomy gave her Repo, so now she's repoed up there, ready to take the flag in case something happens over there. So I do end my turn going up 3-1.
There aren't many ways that turn could have gone worse for me. Like, if I lose Nemo and Gorten, maybe then that would be worse, right? So the leverage that I had in this game was just having a lot of do-work things, like the Toro does a ton of work, Gaspy does a ton of work, and those 2 are gone now, so that upper side of the zone is really, like, kind of dead to me, especially the Conservator's another do-work model, and it's kind of just going to sit there and dirtle around and do nothing. So I have a lot of difficult choices to make because I want to get rid of Malvin and Mayhem. That unit, or that model just cannot exist right now on my side of the table. I have too many things in the middle that he could just go into and start killing spree through with. Even though the button's gone, it's not a big problem for him to just go through and start carving through gun bunnies and maybe getting Nemo real easy. So I decide to ambush Anastasia in first. I'm like, this is the easy thing. And we go into the Void Archon, and I get a little too confident in Anastasia's ability to take it down, and I leave it on like 4 boxes or something like that.
No, you did like...
It was 8 damage or something. It wasn't...
You did 5. He was on 7.
Gotcha.
So you were dice off 9.
So next up I had Scythe go, and I was like, I'll move up because if I kill the Void Archon, I'll be able to run and gun onto the flag and score that at least. And then like I realize now I've just given Ethan a huge defense boost, so I opt instead to get Scythe back to where she was so we can aim. and I just miss my first shot. Like, so, and not first, it's my only. So that didn't work out quite so well. The better thing here to do would have been just to have Scythe go and shoot the Void Archon a lot, and then if Anastasia, all she does is contest or get onto the flag, then that would be fine. So I have to unpack the Driller. The charge attack misses, but the second attack hits, thankfully. And with Strength of Granite up on him that I had put on last turn that I had just had glazed over, he takes him out real easy. Don't even have to roll the dice for it. So I've cleared the flag. Trouble is, I don't have anything to put on that flag, so scenario is now a little bit screwbally for me. I've really bricked in the middle here, and since I have to unpack in a weird way, it's like since that top side's collapsed, I need to deal with the bottom side too. I can't let those get away from me. So next up, I'm just getting brave with Nemo. We put the little Signs Importance ability on him from his little mechanics, because they don't need to do anything else this game, because there's no Toro for them to power up anymore. And I start throwing shots into Malvin and Mayhem. I figure a couple boostable POW 14s should do me all right. And we end up doing, I think it was like 10 damage total after the full activation.
No, the first shot alone did 8.
Oh, we must have like just crushed a roll or something like that.
When you boost dropping the lowest, it's pretty good, even if you are dice -6.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right, because I did 10 on the first. Yeah, that one
did 11.
Yeah. So we did a decent amount of damage. Unfortunately, none of his important systems are out. Like his movement is out, but whatever.
Yeah, because you did the damage to column 2, so you took out his movement. There's 4 boxes left until you take out his Cortex, but he did get crit knocked down. Yep. I just haven't put a token there yet.
Yep. So now I'm getting brave with Boomhowler. Also, I'm like, these are dice off 10, but I'm just gonna take some, like, maybe I can chip some extra damage in, because with as few pieces that I have left, I feel like every damage roll counts right now. So he just kind of chinks off of Malvin and Mayhem here. It doesn't really get very far. So next up, it's Gun Bunnies going, and the Blaster ends up shooting and hitting, and they're dice off 8, so I do a little bit of damage, and when I say a little bit, I mean a real little bit. It's like 1 and 2 damage or something like that. And the second one unpacks 2. I'm hoping that I can spike a little bit, and here I do it 1 damage. So Malvin and Mayhem is perfectly fine, and I don't really have anything left that can do anything to him, so now I've just got to prepare for the Malvin and Mayhem business. And that just means that Gorton's got to stay safe. And I'm still in a position where if I were to feat on Ethan's army, I'm still not going to get anything that comes in. I'm not going to be able to kill, because my Strength of Granite Driller had to charge off onto a flag like a wingnut because I decided to do something horribly wrong. So we end the turn where I'm at now, and we both score 1.
Yep. So going into my turn, Gorton saved his feet, so I'm like, things are looking pretty good for me. Malvin and Mayhem is surprisingly still alive. I thought they were going to die, but Arm 20.
Yeah, Arm 20 against a bunch of dice off 6 and 8 shots. Like Malvin Mayhem, I needed hopes and prayers to kill him.
Yeah, it was more like if you took out his Cortex, then he just sits there dartling around. But luckily, it's just his movements. He does spend 1 to shake. I upkeep Fury on him. We're thinking about getting him on Nemo, and I believe, like, I think you were like, he probably kills Nemo, and I was like, I don't think he kills Nemo, because at this point, like, you have the Hermit, so you can negate the charge, and then even if I do the +2 strength, his +2 strength ability and charge with Fury, I'm dice damage, including his focus reduction. So, like, after focus, I'm dice damage, and he's got 26 boxes, and there's nothing else I can get in on him. So Skarath ends up charging through a Feralgeist onto a Servitor. I'm hoping not to crit, and I do crit, so I crit consume, and I can't overtake to get to the other Servitor, so now I can't clear the flag with Skarath. So now the Feralgeist has to charge with his Mighty Mat 5. He actually hits. And then POW 9, I think we roll it eventually just to make sure he doesn't roll trip ones, kills. So that means Dahlia can run to the flag and ditch 1. So she's sitting on 3 with Haunting Melody, and she's on the flag. So there, boom, there's 1 point for me. And here we do Malvin and Mayhem after we talked about it. And I'm like watching now, we realize his movement's out. So he couldn't have charged, and he did the +2 strength. So what he could have done is done the +2 speed and walked into the zone. And then like the damage rolls on Orby McOrbface would have been almost the same because I do basically nothing after focus.
Yeah, with the hermiting the charge off and then seeing the focus plunk down, Nemo only took 3 boxes, so
yeah, and
he's
like
sitting okay.
We look it up and like we can get a Swamp Horror on him, but I'm like, if I go up to get my 4-inch melee and cycle Fury and Rage, Fury, Boundless Charge, Rage, and keep him in control, like that means I have to come to the other side of the objective, and then Gorten just pulls me in and probably murders poor Rask, because that would be like 1 transfer target gone, and then if he pulls in my other one, like he still has Scythe over there, and I think Scythe can do work against the Swamp Horror, and then a Basher can kill it. Mire goes up. I'm still like in the debate mode of sending him in, so Mire goes up, does a free Rage on him, and then spends 2 on the other Swamp Horror in case I need it, and then just camps 2. There we're measuring. I can't get my bite on him, so without the bite, I can get a boosted POW 18 charge, and then 2 more initials, and then 3 bots, so that's 5 unboosted POW 18s and 1 boosted 18. So like mathematically, I think I can kill him if I roll average, but then Rask dies.
Well, and what you gain from killing Nemo right now isn't really a huge benefit, right? I think at this point we were probably talking about other ways of going, because Ethan's at 4 points and I'm at 2, so he only needs to score 3 to win this game and has 2 locked up. So it's really just, instead of trying to deal with Nemo, I was like, you should just clear a flag.
Yeah, and I think that's when we start measuring. Yep, you're pointing that right now, because like I was in attrition mode, like I need to survive his feet coming. I didn't even think about sweeping scenario, but then Brian pointed it out to me. So Rask is going to have to move over after the Spell Slave goes and Boundless charges the Swamp Horror, because Rask needs to get over to keep that bottom Horror in control. If that Horror fails to kill that or clear that flag, then like Rask is in a dangerous spot. But like I have faith in him, because like for once Mat 6 might not matter because you're Def 9.
Yeah, Def 9 is 919 is a decent stat, but being able to be guaranteed hit by everything is rough.
Yep. So I cycle Fury to him. I camp 3. And then I'm just sending him in. So he charges. Rask moved up an extra inch more than he needs to in case I can killing spree and try and kill Anastasia. So the charge attack hits, does not crit with the bites, and it's POW 22 with Fury and Rage.
Yep, so even though you rolled low, it still took out like 2 columns.
And then the tentacles are going at dice -1, and then there a 3 to hit actually does hit because he's Def 9. And my tentacles aren't doing very well. So like dice -1, I do 5, but then I buy a bite. I crit with a 4, but then I kill him anyway, so the crit didn't matter.
To the exact box too. So that was good for you. So you get to do your overtake onto the flag, and now you've got Anastasia in range.
So I can buy, boost, I need a 9, and I hit it, POW 12. Kills her, Feralgeist runs the flag, and then there I score 3 and go 7-2.
Yep, so this Gorten list is super duper technical, and the more I feel like I need at least 5 more games to really get down how to unpack this list and how to play how to play it in matchups like this. I think Ethan and I are both bringing lists that functionally, as I'd said earlier, do kind of the same thing. We've got a lot of broadcasted threats that do a lot of damage and unpack for huge gains. It's just that you are playing a more protective feat, and I am playing a more aggressive one.
Yeah, and like all my damage, or most of my damage and threat extension comes from Rask himself, whereas Gorten doesn't need to do anything for those super solos that you're bringing because they're just super fully functioning on their own.
Yeah, it's like in old Magic terms, there was a deck you would build, and whenever Standard was around, right, or just when a set for Standard was around, it was, I guess, when they did blocks still. And there was just like, it was the good stuff deck, where it was like every single card that's expensive in the format was in that deck. And I feel like this is kind of this is like good stuff list, where it's just, you have all these pieces that do a ton of work. Like, I feel like a lot of the pieces that are being taken in this Gorton list are the pieces that are defining the meta right now. I mean, outside of Flames, of course, but like Harlowe is a heavy hitter, Scythe is a heavy hitter, Nemo and Gatsby are just really warping the way some things work in this game. And once you compile all these together, you just get this massive, threatening pile of stuff. Yep. And when you bolt on, like, Gorton doesn't do a whole lot for his army. We get Strength of Granite to make the Driller really, really nasty, and then we get Rockwall to protect some things. Solid Ground can be nice where it's nice, but the only thing that Gorton really brings is this ridiculous feat, and this army has the tools to help get him up far enough and keep him safe to where he can feat aggressively and not worry about it. So Ethan or any opponent against a Gorton player has to choose, like, do I want to give my opponent a scenario advantage, or do I want to give him an attritional or assassination advantage by coming in close to him? Because if you stay far out, I can shut you out of scenario. If you come too close, I can start pulling pieces in and start really asymmetrically taking things from you.
Yep. Because it's not enough to just play wide, because like that was always Gorton's biggest weakness. It's a 10-inch control area. Like, on a wide scenario like this, all I have to do is play wide. But I can't do that because I have to respect all of the outrageous threats on the sides. Like, I have to respect Gatsby's threats. I have to respect that Toro that just casually threatens 17 inches with no input from Gorton. Like, and Nemo's gun, like, he can walk up, shoot a heavy. Like, my heavies really do not appreciate taking Thunderbolt shots and then watching Nemo repo away. Like, it's just a very solid package. And then you even get to summon in and bring in the Crane bot to move Gorton forward. And then, like, you ran turn 1, which I think was the right call, because you get the full 8, you Crane 2, so now you're at the 17-inch line with Gorton, and his feet is threatening into my zones, and I just, like, I have to respect it.
Yep, and I feel like, in hindsight, looking back on this game in particular, it probably was better to feat early with Gorton and just take Malvin and Mayhem and the Void Archon when I could, because then Ethan would have fewer pieces to try and deal with some of the things that I had. I would not lose Gatsby then. So that was like, if I could look into a crystal ball, I'd be like, okay, if I don't take Malvin and Mayhem right now, Gatsby's dead. I would easily pop the feat for just that.
I mean, if the Toro was literally a half an inch over to the bottom, or to his left,
or if Gatsby was like a millimeter or two back further,
yeah, because like, if Gatsby doesn't die, I'm in a very, very rough spot, because I can basically take a Toro, and then whatever I send into the Toro dies. You're up the board, you're behind your cloud wall, and you're camping. Like, I can crank damage pretty hard with a +6 strength swing, but Orby McOrbface camping is still rough. Like, I cap out at POW 23, I want to say, but then that's just, he's armor 18, so with focus, I'm dice damage. So, like, if I can get to him with a fully loaded beast, I can maybe crank through as long as I roll consistently.
Yep.
But with Hermit, it screws the math, and you have enough repair boys where it's like, if I don't kill him all the way, it's rough. And even getting in the threat with the Thunderbolt guns is just hard.
Yeah, so I definitely need more time with this list. Like, I don't feel like it was a great representation of what this list can do, but thankfully enough, Ethan and I are both enamored with this Gorton style of play, so it'll probably see some more games on the channel as we get more fluent in how it's supposed to be unpacking and functioning. I think we played a game before this one where Ethan was not very respectful of Gorton's feat. I think you had thought that it didn't work on Warcasters.
Yeah, like, I hadn't played against Gorton since literally the first 3 months of Mark III. It was the first ATC, and, like, they gave me a charge on Gorton, and I just killed him. So, yeah. Like, I didn't actually, like, his feat pulled in a bunch of my units, but then I just killed him. And, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's a feat. what feat affects a Warcaster with a pull. Because I'm like, it's Sturgis, right?
And it's big. It's 8 inches. So what happened in that first game was just that Gorton was able to pull things up, mostly just get Rask, and then Harlowe ended up flattening him out. So we ended up refilming it for this one. And although I didn't perform that great in this either, I think it's still worth just showcasing the amount of untying that Rask can do. And I still think Malvin and Mayhem is just busted.
They're really, really good, and you need the tools to scalp them out.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should disclaimer, it's not that we like scrapped it because he just beat the living shit out of me, because like I was fine with that. Like I felt it was good to show off Gorton's feet, but in typical big top gaming fashion, the camera died.
Yeah, it was like Gorton moved up and feeded, and then the camera died. So like that was the end of that. So we scrapped it, and you get this instead. But definitely looking forward to playing this list more, and maybe the next time we see it on here, you'll get to see a more polished version of how to play this list and have fun with it, because I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I really like that Gorton list. Like, I will be honest, I have not respected Gorton for the longest time. Like, I was like, as a Merc player, I was like, if I wanted a Dwarf caster, I'd reach for Osram.
Yeah, I think you exactly said that in this game. You're like, I think Osram is just the better caster for this list, and then you lost Rask.
No, yeah. Well, I said he's just better in general, because like you're moving through all your stuff, and you're like, oh, my speed 4 heavy, like it charges 7, threatens 9, or threatens 8. And I'm like, man, that's rough. If only you're playing Osram for Energizer and Tactician. But then like we played the game last night, and I had been thinking about him, Gorton, in a pre-Oblivion world. Like, I feel like all these Oblivion updates and releases have just improved him so much.
It's warped his game a lot. Before, he was like the cute meme caster where it's like, and I know how to say meme. I said meme is like meme with a Y, so it's meme.
Yeah, meme.
but he's got good tools to make this work. And if you wanted to do something more fun, you could throw Dez in here and push him forward a little bit. Like, there's ways to still do like dwarf chucking, but this list just plays a more solid, aggressive, like focused game.
Yeah, because the dwarf chucking thing was always so stupid to me, because like you can combo smite with McHorn, so you slam him 6-inch D6. And then you can Dez shoot him in the butt with momentum for D3, and then Grog Spear, if you can line it up first, can pitch him D6, and with solid ground, then he can still walk. But it's like, yeah, he's feeded. What does he have to do anything? Because like he can't feel his battle group, and he doesn't, like, outside of his feet pulling you in 8 inches, his speed 4 heavy that does work with Strength of Granite, like that's it. But now like Nemo Orb, like that Toro threatening 17 inches out, like with zero input from Gorton, is just phenomenal.
And at POW 22 with Dark Shroud.
Yep. And then Gaspy's servitors just running around clearing infantry. Gaspy is usually a monster. Like if he was camping focus there, I can't kill him. Like it's just the only reason he died is because I got to him with just enough attacks and he wasn't camping. If he had 2 focus on him, he lives. But,
yep, and that Conservator also with him gets pretty gross too. If you're unfortunate enough to kill a warrior model around him, that thing gets up to POW 19.
Yep, and that's what you do. Like his servitors contest, so you can contest that flag. I clear the flag. Conservator walks up, is super angry, and then just punches a heavy a bunch of times. Like he's a respectable 12-point heavy.
Yeah, it's a good piece here because I'm always used to seeing like the Scavenger or Stalker with Gaspy, but seeing and getting a shield guard out of it too. Like there's just so many layers of like, this is a good thing, but it also has this on top of it where there's just a lot of, it's like an onion, man. It's layers.
Yeah.
It's a good list. I really enjoyed playing this one and look forward to playing more of it.
Yeah, and I like this Rask list. Like I said, the first game we played last night, like I'm used to the horrors going in and doing most of the heavy lifting with like Fury and Rage and cycling it between them, because I like Malvin and Mayhem to be the second wave. But then, like you said, he feeded. One of my horrors was full. The other one got pulled out of my control, so it wasn't even a transfer target anymore. And I was like, I can't. That's why this game I was really hesitant to send horrors in, and I decided to trade Malvin and Mayhem first, which. Like, I just, like, he projects threat, but I like him as the second wave because he is expensive. Like, he's 17 points, but, man, does he do work when you get him in there.
Yeah, real mistake not feeding on him first.
I mean, Yeah.
Like I said, if I would have known that Gaspy was going to go down for it, I would have easily just said, yeah, we'll get him out of here. But I just wasn't visualizing the killing spree.
Yeah, like it's hard because we've played the Will Work for Food matchup a couple times. Like you can picture the overtake like with the swamp horrors, but then you don't picture like Malvin and Mayhem with reach killing spree because that's just
Yeah, it's harsh.
yeah.
So I'll leave some links in the description below to the VTC lists and the information that I think is mostly listed on Knight's Machine. So check that out and pay attention to how that all shakes out. I mean, the mercenary field is quite thick in there, but there's definitely some cool lists, like that Swedish Scorn list with Rasheth and all of the minions and stuff with like poking the Wastelander with the Taskmaster looked really fun. There's just a lot of cool stuff in there, and I'm super interested to see how the South African team comes out of there. It's always interesting in Warmachine. I feel like, especially now with how like globalized we are, considering most of us are getting our games online and mostly absorbing the game through online resources, it's really great to see an area come into the Warmachine world that hasn't really been super present in it before. At least I haven't really paid or noticed much from South Africa. I mean, every now and again I see like Hawaiian players pop up, which is different, but never anyone from South Africa. And I think the Japanese meta is still kind of like waiting in the wings to kind of come into their own too.
Yeah, they've been growing for a while because like normally like there's like a few different ways to look at like the metas. Like you can focus on your local meta, the country you're in, and then the global meta. And usually I don't think a lot of people focus on the global meta because it largely doesn't impact them as much because like, yeah, I can steal like a top list that's going on in Europe, but if that doesn't matter in my local meta, like, and so like I feel like some players just don't recognize like how vast and different the metas are around the world. But then something like VTC and Warm and the WTC, you get a good view of like what lists are being played all around the world, and it's really interesting to see those metas or countries where you're like, you don't ever think about lists that come out of there and how their meta is different than yours. Because even like here in Wisconsin, we had like 3 to 4 different metas floating around the state, and it's like they all had different hubs of what was played even there.
Yeah.
And just thinking about how drastically different lists can be from country to country.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch it all play out. It's an exciting event, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. And I'm hoping that Team Belgium goes far with their Super Mercs lists, and mostly I'm really backing this one.
Yeah. I mean, they did skew the Merc math, unfortunately, because everyone's like, oh, there's only 19 Fionas out of all the Merc players. And it's like, well, out of the 5 Merc players, only one of them could have Fiona.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she's still more represented than the second most taken faction.
Yeah, I think faction, specifically
she
faction.
Is a faction at this point.
Yep. It's crazy. Well, thanks for watching, and we look forward to throwing down the next one for you.